And we're live. Hello and welcome to another Facebook Live. It's lovely to see you all here, although we can't see any of you yet, but I hope you'll be joining us soon. My name's Craig. I'm from the website mansioningles.com, where we have lots of material and free courses for you to improve your English. And also we have a podcast that you can find at inglespodcast.com or anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. And with me today, I'm pleased to welcome Lynn again. Hello.
Hi, Craig. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
You good today? Mm-hmm.
Yes. How are you?
I'm fine too. And hi to anybody, if there's anybody there yet. So my name is Lynn. I'll introduce myself if you haven't come to this class before. And my company is putitlikethis.com. And I exclusively do online teaching. So if any of you are interested in classes and would like more information, go to putitlikethis.com. And now I see our first person is good morning from New Zealand. Good morning.
Hello.
And I hope you had a good night's sleep, Francisco, there in New Zealand. And Hema is there again. Hello, Hema. And Christina. Lovely to see you again. And Fabiana. And Elizabeth from Mexico, I think. Yeah.
Wow. A very lovely audience so far. And if you're watching the replay on Facebook, thank you for your time. We hope you will enjoy this session that we're going to do now, looking at vocabulary and discussion connected to games. Everything to do with games this week. So let's get started with games.
With games. I like this. Do you like games, Craig? Are you a gamey person?
It depends which kind of game. So it would be interesting to see if we've got like games in common, what games you like to play, and see if we like similar games. But there are different kinds of games. So that's the first thing that we'll look at. What different kinds of games or classifications of games can we think of? Board games. Games played on the table. Sometimes they're called table games, aren't they? Games like chess.
But that's in Spanish, no, table games. I always correct my students when they say table games.
You wouldn't say table games in English?
No, I don't think so. We would say board games.
Juegos de mesa. Yeah, you're right. That's
That's too many years in Spain.
Too many years in Spain playing table games.
Exactly. Yeah. So we definitely say board games.
We do, but not all games played on a table are board games, because dominoes, for example, or cards, they're games that don't need a board.
Yeah, but we don't have a word to say what kind. They're just sort of games, aren't they? We would just say those games.
What are your favourite board games?
Board game. Mine? Oh, I have many. I love Scrabble. I adore Scrabble. I love this game called Articulate, which I actually can recommend, because to all people who are learning English, but you need to see if you can play it with native speakers of English. Have you ever played Articulate, Craig?
I've heard of it, but I've never played it. Can you explain it?
Yeah, well, you play it with, it's a board game. So you play with other people. You can't play on your own. And you need a minimum of 4 people to play. But it can be 10 people, if you like. And you play in teams. So if there's 4 of you, then it's two teams of 2 people each. But if there's more of you, which makes it more fun, if there's 10 of you, you could have 3 teams of 3, or a team of 4. And basically you move around the board, and when you land, that means when your piece, there's a piece of vocabulary there. So every team is represented by a little piece that you move in the game. And so when your piece lands on a particular square on the board game, then you have to take a card, and the square represents a category. And the category will have an English word on there. And you have to describe the word to your team, but without using the word. And it's all done under a timer. So it gets very, very, and your team members are trying to guess the word. If you guess the word, then you can continue to move around. But it's called Articulate because it helps you build your vocabulary and it helps you become articulate, which means able to speak and communicate fluently. So it's a wonderful game. But obviously, if you're a learner of English, then you need to play it with some people who are either very good at English or some native speakers.
It sounds a bit like charades, where you describe a film or a book, but more vocabulary based.
No, but yes, it is, because in charades you can't speak. You use actions, and this you can speak.
You can speak,
but you have to use other words. So it's wonderful for building synonyms and parallel phrases. And but there is one person in my family who hates articulate. Now, today, everybody, I have to say, Craig and I thought that we will give scores out of 10 for the games. Yeah, so we give ratings and you can tell us if you agree or not. And for Articulate, I would give it a 10 out of 10. I think it's a wonderful board game, but my husband hates it. But my family love it. So my daughters love it, and it's our favorite family game. But the problem is when you are trying to describe things under pressure, people, especially my children, they start getting quite aggressive. And that's why my husband hates it.
So you have to convince your husband to play it. Everyone wants to play it.
Oh, yes,
except
absolutely. And he only agrees when we're on holiday. He won't play Articulate at home, only on holiday to humour us.
Maybe because he's less stressed.
Yeah.
So,
what's your favourite board game?
My favourite board game? Well, someone's put in the chat Rummy. Patricia's put Rummy, but I think, Patricia, you mean Rummy like the card game Rummy? Because there's a card game called Rummy. But I remember a game called Rummy Cube, which
Rummy
was...
Cub. We have that. I love that as well.
That's one of my favourite games. And I also love backgammon and chess.
I haven't played backgammon for years. I used to play backgammon when I was a child. And chess I like too. But the problem with chess is I'm not very good. So you have to have somebody who is good to play with, and then you can learn a lot. But I think we're all a bit... I know a few moves in chess and I can win, but I'm not learning very much with that. Do you like Scrabble, Craig? Because Scrabble is also a great game for learners of English. Scrabble is when you get letters.
It's a spelling game.
You get letters and you have to spell out words on the board. And it's also wonderful for building vocabulary.
Yes, it is.
Yeah,
it's a very good game.
And I love Scrabble. I'm very mean when I play Scrabble. Well, I'm actually mean.
I can imagine you being mean in most games. Monopoly.
I am.
Monopoly as well.
Because,
I bet you're always the banker.
Yes.
With the money.
Exactly.
and your favorite piece is the boot.
No, actually.
Oh, okay.
I like the racing car. The racing car in Monopoly.
Okay.
The racing car. But I do like the boot. I like all of them. Actually, I'm not that keen on Monopoly. Monopoly, I would give it a 4 out of 10. It goes on too long.
That's it. It's very time consuming. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Scrabble, the reason I'm mean is because I'm very competitive and I love to win, you see. So I never give anybody a chance. And I was a very mean mummy because
I was going to ask
that
question. When your daughters they're grown up, but when your daughters were younger, like 6 or 7, did you always beat them at games? Didn't you let them win?
Yes. No. I'm terrible, aren't I?
Unbelievable. That's so mean.
No, but the thing is, my girls now, they all say, but now they beat me sometimes, yeah? And they also said, yes, you never let us win. But the thing is, that's what makes a good player, you know? You can't let people win. If you want them to learn, you have to beat them.
It's called tough love.
Tough love, yeah. When it comes to game, tough love.
So speaking of you having playing with your daughters when they were younger, what childhood games were popular in your house? Because we played Monopoly, we played cards like Rummy, and a card game called Kaluki, and a few other games. What was popular in your household when your kids were
Well,
growing up?
when in my household, well, is that because you're trying to define childhood games?
Because yes, when your daughters were younger, they would
Yeah.
play. They wouldn't be able to play Monopoly or.
No, no. So we had a few versions of board games that were specially designed for children. I remember, and then other games we played were memory. Memory was very popular. Do you know memory, where you have
No.
pairs of pictures, and you put them. Now here's some vocabulary for everybody. Face down. Face down. So you can't, well, first of all, they're face up. So they're all on the floor and you see all the pictures and they're in pairs.
Oh, and then you have to remember.
Then you turn them over and you have to
sets
remember. And then you take turns. To take turns means I go and then you go. And you're allowed to turn over two. And if you can remember where the pairs are, you get to keep the pair. And if you can't remember, then you have to turn them back again.
Face down, yeah. I've played that.
Face up and face down.
I've played that game. That's a good game. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good game. Mm-hmm.
It's fun. And when you were younger, what kind of games did you play as a child? What childhood games did you like?
Well, I loved playing make-believe games. I don't know. Have you got this vocab on other?
It's on the
banners?
next banner. Yeah.
On the next one.
Make believe.
Make believe. So these are games that you invent with your friends, and when we invented games, like for example, I remember I absolutely adored it. We used to play. I mean, Doctors and Nurses is a very common game. Doctors and Nurses. Did you never play Doctors and Nurses when you were younger?
No, because my sister's 9 years older than me, so.
But with your friends when you.
No, I didn't. I only had one good friend because I lived far from my school. That's what I wanted to say. That I wasn't in a group of children my age playing games.
Yeah.
The games I played pretty much on my own or with my friend Graham, and that's it.
I know. Oh, well,
So,
I had a whole bunch
really.
of friends in the street and we used to play. And when it was raining, we would play inside. And if we were playing inside, then we often played make-believe. And we would play things like Doctors and Nurses. So somebody was the doctor, somebody was the patient, somebody was the nurse. Yeah, that could get a little bit vicious sometimes.
Why?
Because we used to try to, we're going to set your leg in plaster, and we would be quite rough with each other.
But first we have to break it.
Yeah. And then we also played, and this was my favorite, we played detectives. And I think it was because we used to watch detective series on television.
Like Sherlock Holmes.
Like Sherlock Holmes and things. And so I remember spending hours with my friends, and we even made up index cards and we invented criminals and their names. And then we would make them in the morning, and then in the afternoon we would like role play being the detective. Somebody was the detective and we had to go and find the criminal, and you had to go and introduce him. Oh, it was wonderful. I loved those games.
Did you play a board game called Cluedo?
Yes, I loved Cluedo.
Very similar theme of finding the murderer, being a detective. Yeah.
But a make-believe game is one that you invent. So it's a game that you make up, and it's like what do you call that? Improvisation, isn't it? Really?
Improvisation.
Improvisation. What actors do sometimes.
Got some comments coming in. Joseph said that he's played that game with the memory, with the cards being face up and face down.
Face down.
And a quick hello to Vicente, who's a neighbour of mine from Valencia. Not a physical neighbour, but we live in the same city, so hi.
Hi, Vicente.
And hello to everyone who's joined us recently. Good to see you all here.
Okay.
Now let's go back to the previous banner just for a second, because we've spoken about childhood games. Street games was something I did play.
You did.
Because my one friend, Graham, We played tennis together in the street. We played football in the street. He had a table tennis table. So we played table tennis in his garage, but the garage was very small and the table tennis table just fit in the garage. So every time the ball went too far to the sides, we'd smash the bat on the side of the garage, on the wall of the garage. So it was a bit of a disaster, but we played that, and cricket. So football, cricket, tennis, and table tennis.
And when
played
we were
in the
younger,
streets.
Craig, you and I, it was possible to play in the streets. I remember we played tennis, we played all sorts of games in the street with all the kids in the street. But that was because then people had cars. I mean, we're not that old. People did have cars, but usually every family had one car and the car was in the garage. So the street was empty.
Yeah.
But then now that's impossible because most families have 2 cars or 3 cars and the cars are parked in the street, and there's a lot more traffic than there was when we were younger.
And also another difference is, which brings us on to the next category of games, video games. Most kids now of a similar age are not playing so much in the street. They're playing video games online or with friends in the same room.
Yeah.
So there's been this change over time of games played outside to video games played on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
Do your daughters...
Do you
Go
play
on.
video games? Can you play video games?
I don't. And the reason I don't is because I've got a very addictive personality. And I know that if I bought a PlayStation or an Xbox, I wouldn't do any work. I'd be 24/7, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week playing games. So I don't want that temptation. I'm not the kind of person to say, I'll play a game for half an hour and then go and do some work. It would be hours and hours and hours. So I don't on purpose. I don't want to get into that world of video games. But do you play them in your house?
No, we never had video games, and I have played occasionally when I've been at friends' houses. I've tried the Wii. I mean, it's probably old-fashioned now. I'm showing my age. I'm not up to date.
I remember the Wii.
The Wii is probably not but that's the only type of video game I've ever played. And to be honest with you, I mean, I haven't got a lot of experience, and I know what you mean about the addictive personality. And I did enjoy playing the Wii, the one time I've played it. But I have to say, after a while, I got a bit bored. Yeah. I found it a bit boring. And also, I'm not very good with those kind of things because I don't think I'm very quick. So when I see people playing video games, they're very, very quick with the controls, with the joystick and the cursor and all of that. And it goes, I like games where you think a little bit more. I take a long time in Scrabble to think of the words, you know. And I don't mind a little bit of time pressure, but I don't like a lot of time pressure. Otherwise, it's not fun.
If anyone watching at the moment, if you do play video games, what video games are your favorites? And why do you like them? So maybe you could write a comment about what attracts you to video games if you're a video gamer. Christine says that when she was in school, she would play French skipping all the time.
Me too. Yeah, and we call them, I don't know what you mean by French skipping, Christine, because skipping is with one rope, you know, or like if you had a very long rope and then there was a group of you who would skip, and we had songs, we used to come in, go out and all of that with the big rope. That was a street game I used to play a lot with my friends as well. We had a big long rope and there would be about 20 kids and we'd all be going in and out of the ropes. But the game that I think maybe Christine means this is American skips is the word in English.
American skips?
When you had elastic and you have 2 people and the elastic is like a big piece of elastic and it goes around the legs of 2 people who hold it tight. And then one person makes patterns in the elastic. It's very difficult to describe this. So, for example, just a second till I
You're
get
looking for an elastic band, aren't
I'm
you?
looking for an elastic band, yeah. Have I got an elastic band? Oh, I haven't got an elastic band. Sorry, I can't. Can I show you? No, I can't show you. I haven't got an elastic band here. So you have a band around the legs like that. And then somebody is doing like patterns with their feet. And then you get yourself kind of knotted, and then there's a certain jump, and you free yourself out of it. It's very difficult.
It sounds
And there's all sorts of
very-
patterns. Christine says exactly the American
Yeah.
version. There we are. So we call that American skips. And normal skipping was with the rope.
Uh-huh. Did you play Hopscotch?
Oh,
which
yes.
is also here. Hopscotch. I played that as well. I used to enjoy that, even though it tends to be associated with girls, not boys. But I used to enjoy it. You throw the stone, you have to hop, which is jump on one leg only, and there are numbers on the floor that you draw with chalk.
With chalk. Uh-huh.
And then you go up depending on where the stone lands, and then you have to pick up the stone without falling over. That's quite good fun.
It's good. And I think kids still play hopscotch. It's really good for balance and things, yeah? Uh-huh.
Another one is pin the towel on the donkey, which we used to play every Christmas in our house. There's a picture of a donkey that the children make, and then there's a towel, una cola in Spanish, that's separate. And you take a pin, a drawing pin, put a blindfold around your eyes so that you cannot see, and then you have to spin round 3 or 4 times, and then somebody walks you to the donkey, and you have to try to put the towel on the donkey. And it usually ends up on the donkey's head, on the donkey's leg, and it's quite funny.
Yeah. No, now, the more you talk about games, the more you can remember, can't you?
Yep.
Because that was, Craig used the word blindfold. So that's the piece of material that you put around your head to make you blind so you can't see. And I remember a game called Blind Man's Buff.
Yes.
Blind Man's Bluff. Blind Man's Bluff. And you also did that. You span round 5 times, and then you had to try to catch somebody and guess who it was. So
That's
you
right.
touched them, and then you found out who it was. And if you were correct, then that person. Now, here's some. Have we got that on a banner? Became man. Did you put that on the banner or not?
Let me check. I don't think so.
No. Okay. Right. So in all of these games, when you're playing in groups or teams, sometimes one person has a particular role to play, and then you do something, and then another person changes that role, and he becomes that main protagonist in the game. And that is called, did you use that vocabulary as well? Being man. It's a bit
We
sexist.
wouldn't. I think that's
Did
a
you never say
northern
that?
expression.
Is that a
'cause
northern?
We would
What
say
did you say?
it.
It. Ah, you used to
You're
say who.
it.
You're say
Lynn's frozen.
your man.
You froze for a second there.
Oh, sorry.
So you would say your man, and in the south of England, you're it.
You're
Interesting.
it, which is more politically correct. Because we never said you're a woman, we'd say your man.
Joseph has a suggestion. He said that spin the bottle. To spin is to
Spin the
turn it
bottle.
quickly, and whoever gets the bottle says truth or dare. I used to play that game, Joseph, in the pub. It was a drinking game, and whoever the bottle points at used to have to drink the beer. So
Seriously?
I know that game. Yeah, very well.
Gosh, you must have drank a lot. We played Spin the Bottle. It was a family game we played at home with our children. We always played it on birthdays. We always played games on birthdays. And we played Spin the Bottle. And when it pointed at you, you had to do something like a song, a dance, tell a joke, do some kind of gymnastic, anything, but you had to do a trick.
Yeah.
and then you could sit down, and we played that all the time with our families, and the kids loved it because you get like the abuel, like the grandfather doing a handstand, or the grandmother telling a joke, or the auntie singing a song, and you discover lots of talents that your family have that normally you don't realize they have. And that's called Spin the Bottle. And then Christine says, oh, sorry, go on.
So Hemmer says that her son plays video games all the time, and when he's not working and studying, he gets on her nerves.
I know, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he's going to be a video game programmer, which is a very good profession, actually. And Christine says musical chairs, another popular party game. Yeah, good fun.
And that's where you have the chairs and you go around in circles to the music. And when the music stops, there's always one chair less. And when the music stops, you have to sit down. And the person who doesn't get a seat is, and we say, is out. So you're out of the game. So you say you're out, and then you take away a seat, and it starts again, and it goes on like that until there's one seat left. My kids loved that game. I loved that game too. It's a good game.
Liliana plays video games. She's from Colombia. She said her favorite games are historical video games, Gods of War, Warcraft, and classic PSP.
Ah, okay. And do you play, Liliana, do you play with other people with those games, or is it a game that you play on your own? I know that I have some students who've explained a lot to me about video games, and one of my students showed me Fortnite, which was a fascinating game. So
That's quite a new game, isn't it?
It's a new game, and video games are fascinating. They really are. I'm just very ignorant of them, and I didn't realize. But a lot of young people. So even when Hema says her son is playing video games, sometimes you have the idea that the people are playing alone when they're playing a video game, but that's not true.
They're playing with their friends online.
And many people online integrated. You're just not physically together.
And because it's an international thing to connect on the internet and play video games in a group, it's very, very good for your English, because usually the language of video games online is English. So if you're into video games, to be into it is to be really keen, really interested in video games. It's a wonderful way to practice your fluency. Get online, play and speak to people. Question for you.
And sorry, that's interesting with Liliana as well, because she's interested in historical games. And I remember I had a student, and when we reached the chapter of the book that was all to do with history and weapons, my student, because she played video games, she knew them all. She knew all the words for, mace and and spear and jousting. She knew all of it. So it does help you learn English really easily with a game.
Here's a question for you. Last year, 2020, how much money did video games generate worldwide? How much money did video games generate as an industry? Have a guess.
Oh. Are you asking me? I was hoping you'd ask them.
I'm asking anyone in the chat room, anyone in the chat, or Lynn, what do you think? I was really surprised when I saw this today.
$5 billion. I don't know how much money that is, $5 billion.
$5 billion sounds like a lot of money, doesn't it? $180 billion in 1 year. Made more the video game industry made more money than the US movie industry and the US sports industry combined.
Really? Wow.
Yep.
Wow. So we should go and start video gaming then, shouldn't we? Because we're obviously not modern anymore, Craig. We're very old-fashioned here. That's amazing.
We're obviously in the wrong profession, but I think we knew that years ago. Anyway, moving on. Hide and seek is a very popular game for kids, for children. In American English, they tend to say hide and go seek. I've heard that.
Do they? Yeah.
In American English,
we say hide and seek. That one gets 10 out of 10 for me.
10 out of 10. Me too. Very fun game.
Hide and seek.
Children never get tired of playing hide and seek. They love it. And tell us about dressing up, because I never used to dress up as a kid.
Yeah, well,
But
I
you
did.
did.
Oh, all the time. As the doctors and nurses or the detectives, or it was part dressing up games. I don't know, maybe sometimes it is more of a girl-like thing. But I know that it was part of the make-believe games that we made. So we would dress up, and you see pictures often of little girls putting on their mother's high-heeled shoes or their handbags or their clothes. And you see boys doing it too, getting dressed up like their fathers with the tie, you know. Did you never do that? Did you never put your dad's tie on or anything?
No,
Oh,
no.
wow.
I
Yeah.
played games on my own. I played football game called Subutio, and I played marbles, little round
Oh, I
glass
remember those. Yeah.
marbles, and things like throwing cards against the wall to try and hit other cards. So silly little games just to keep myself amused. But I never dressed up.
You never dressed
No,
up, no? Oh, I love dressing up. And we called it dressy up in the north. You changed it to dressing up. We used to say, let's play dressy ups. And then we would start to like try to dress up. And strangely enough, I never taught my daughters to do that, but they did do that. They
I
used to
dressed
spend,
up.
yeah, they used to spend like, you know, a good afternoon going through the wardrobes and trying on different clothes and pretending to be different people like Shakira and Ethol and, you know, different. They just, yeah, it's, I think it's a thing that children often do, isn't it?
Joseph says a famous online game is Call of Duty. Yes, I've heard of that, Joseph. And that's the game I think I would probably be addicted to if I decided to play video games, because I'd probably be interested in first-person shooters. They call Call of Duty a first-person shooter game because you are shooting. And also racing, car racing I like. So I'd probably be addicted to one of those for sure.
Camino says the main problem with video games is the addiction to gambling.
That's a problem, yes. Yes, that is a problem.
But I have to say, when my student explained to me about video games and he really showed me how to play, I was very, very surprised at how positive video games are. They make you extremely skillful. And for example, in the Fortnite, you have to be extremely quick with spatial awareness. Yeah, you have to be really, really quick with seeing this, making decisions, doing this. So I think video games are really, really useful actually, because they teach you many skills to multitask, to be decisive. As some of the games are strategic. So you have to think in advance, just like the board games like chess are strategic. These video games have elements of all of the other types of games, because I think games really, it's something that human beings use in order to learn, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the games give us skills. So like board games can give you verbal skills like Scrabble or articulate, and then you have strategic skills like with chess. Yeah,
Negotiation, teamwork.
You have negotiation skills. You get motor skills when you play hopscotch, for example.
Yep, you get mouse skills as well if you're playing online. That's very important.
Yeah. And video games are really, I think that's why they're so clever, because they combine a lot of those skills in one game, which is very interesting. And
Christine
I read
says,
it.
oh,
So
sorry.
go on. Sorry.
I was going to say, Chris. Go ahead, Lynn.
No, I read an article. I have to share this because I thought it was fascinating. There was a survey done with brain surgeons, and brain surgeons use computers to do microsurgery. You know, so they're controlling robots
I think they're using
which
virtual reality headsets.
over her things like that. And apparently the people who were the doctors who played more video games made fewer mistakes. They performed better. So
Yep.
even if you want to be a brain surgeon now, the more video games you play, the better you are at it. Makes you more skillful.
And probably the next games that we'll be playing will be either augmented reality or virtual reality games with headsets, or maybe just glasses like these, where you're actually in a 360-degree situation, because they're actually using this technology now to train surgeons and doctors to do operations before they actually practice or operate on a patient. So that's the next stage that we'll see. Christine says, the Wii is alive. You'll be pleased to hear, Lynn. She plays Just Dance with the Wii, and it's a video game. You could read the lyrics of a song while you're dancing. It's a good way to learn rhythm and have fun and exercise because you're moving. Has anyone played Guitar Hero? That's a game I think I would like, and I've never played it, where you're playing the electric guitar to a song that you really like. If you've played Guitar Hero, let me know if it's good. It looks very, very, very good and a lot of fun.
And that's on the Wii, is it? That's on the Wii.
No, it's a separate game. I don't know if there's something similar on the Wii, but you actually hold a kind of an electric guitar and then you play along to your favorite Eric Clapton song or whatever. Let's look at some more vocabulary. So a competitive person, for example, is Lynn. She's very competitive with Scrabble and other games that she
with everything. I'm very competitive.
But do you get very angry or annoyed when you lose? Are you a bad loser or a sore loser?
Absolutely not. I'm not.
So you're competitive, but then you don't win.
I'm really
that's
competitive,
okay.
and I really want to win, but I am never a sore loser. And that's what I wanted to try to teach my kids at the beginning. I think when you're little, my kids were all really bad losers. Oh, I've lost.
Because you were beating them all the time.
Because I was beating them, but you have to learn, don't you? You do have to learn to be a good loser. And it really annoys me when I see footballers, who have tantrums on the pitch. Because it's a game, And you got to have fun. You mustn't take these things too seriously. It's only a game. Yeah. I mean, you play to win, but it doesn't matter if you lose. Unless you are gambling, of course. If you're gambling and you're losing lots of money, then maybe then you would
If you're
be a bad
gambling with a
loser.
game like poker, cards, and you're playing for money, does that make you a card sharp? Is that someone who's very good at winning money?
I think a card sharp just means that you're very good at cards. At playing card games. That
Card
you often
games.
win card games. That's the
What's
way
your
I used
favourite?
to work, I think.
What's your favourite card game?
I can never remember card games. I like card games, but I can never remember them. My daughters play a lot of card games, and every summer they teach me the same games, and I can never remember them from one year to the next. But once I get into it, then I'm fine. Yeah. What's your favourite card game?
Probably 21, Blackjack. Yeah, I've always played that. As a family, we used to play a game called Kaluki, which is like Rummy that someone mentioned earlier, but with more cards. So you get, I think it's 12 cards, and then you have to make sets or runs of consequential numbers like 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you.
Oh yes, I
put
played
down,
something like that before.
and the idea is to get rid of all of your cards, and it's a nice game to play in a group. It's a lot of fun. Christine says the only thing she can't stand is playing with cheaters. I would say cheats, Christine. The person is a cheat, not a cheater. So the verb and the noun is exactly the same. You are a cheat if you cheat at cards.
Yeah, cheats are not nice. An ace means, an ace is the name for the number 1 in the card, isn't it? No, the number 30. No, it's not number 1, is it? Is it 1? Yes, it is. It's number 1. So an ace in cards. But also, if you are an ace, it means you are number 1. You're really, really good.
And if you
So
play tennis and you hit the ball exactly in the middle, that's an ace if the other player can't reach it.
And you've got to watch the preposition there. It's the same preposition that follows you are good at cards, you are bad at tennis, and you are an ace at whatever game, right? So after the word ace, you are an ace at something. Yeah.
You probably know winner, the noun, and loser, to win and to lose. And if the score is equal, it's a draw. So if there's a football game, for example, and it's 1-1, it's a 1-all draw, or it's a draw, 2-2 draw, or a 0-0 draw. Moving on. Board games. We've spoken about some of these. I think we spoke about it's your turn, it's my turn. No cheating, of course. Pass the dice.
Yeah, toss a coin. Sometimes in order to know who goes first, you have to toss a coin. That's when you put the coin on, you toss it. And we didn't say, but on a coin you have heads or tails. So the person say heads or tails. They still do that all around the world, don't they? Toss coins to decide who is going to start first.
Do you know how to say heads and tails in Spanish?
Cruz and cara? Is it?
Is it cara cruz?
Cara cruz?
Sounds correct. Sounds right.
Maybe our viewers who are Spanish speakers, maybe you can help us how to say heads or tails in Spanish.
I'm sure someone knows.
Yeah. And move around the board. Cara or cruz, that's right, Eduardo. Thank you.
Thank you, Eduardo.
And Mar. And shake and roll the dice. That's shake in the pot. And then when you empty it out, then it rolls across the board.
And in Spanish, if you're a Spanish speaker, you might say toca a ti, which means it's your turn. Or you can say it's your go.
Yeah,
So
that's another one.
it's whose go is it means whose turn is it to roll the dice. So whose go is it or whose turn is it?
And the rest I think we had, didn't we? Except, okay.
We've spoken about these as well, except maybe snakes and ladders.
That's a one for children, isn't it? Very
Up
small
the ladder,
children.
down the snake, yeah.
Yeah. That's a board game. I'm not sure. I think that exists in many countries, snakes and ladders, but I'm not sure.
So you roll the dice, and then you have a counter, a small piece of plastic, a counter, and you have to move the number that you get on the dice. But if you land on a square that's a snake, you go down the snake. And if you land on a ladder, which is escalera in Spanish, you go up the ladder. What do you say in Spanish for that game? Is there a different name? We call it snakes and ladders.
Snakes and ladders, yeah. I mean, it's a very simple game of chance, isn't it? Because it's just the dice, whether you win or not.
Andrea's saying escudo or corona too. So yeah, maybe that's from a different country. I don't know where Andrea's from. Which country are you from, Andrea, where you say escudo or corona? That's interesting.
Corona. Okay, and what else?
I think we've covered that vocabulary. We move on to street games. Let's pick sides. Very common in football or netball or basketball because you need two teams, two sides. So you pick the sides. And I was usually picked last. I was one of the last.
Me too.
to
Me
be
too.
Picked. All the best players are picked first, and then the bad players are picked last.
And it's really demotivating, isn't it, if you're not very sporty? It was the same with me. That when it came, because usually picking sides was for a sports game, if you're going to play hockey or
Rounders,
and also for tag, the game tag, which was a game we used to play with a group of kids in the street, and it was just basically catchy or tag, and basically one person was it or man in the north, and suddenly you counted to 3 and everybody disappeared, and then they had to catch you. If they caught you, then you were man. And sometimes we played that in teams, and we had 2 teams. And I was always picked because I wasn't a fast runner. So I was always last. And it was very demotivating as a child to always be picked last, wasn't it?
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. It's happened to me too. Yeah.
Okay.
Andreas from Costa Rica. That's why it's
Okay.
a different name for heads or tails. Okay. So yeah, sorry, go ahead.
So I'm just seeing that Eduardo's saying, do we know parchís? And he says, I'm not sure about the spelling, but we do, but that's not an English one. In English, that's Ludo. Isn't it?
Yeah, someone said something about Ludo. Christine said it's popular playing Ludo.
Okay.
Parchís.
Oh, so you say it in Spanish then as well, or are you saying the English word? Maybe she's saying the English word because she knows it.
So to chase is to run after someone, which is also something that you do in the street when you're a kid, and then you try to catch them. And if you're playing hide and seek, for example, you'd say, I give up. That's a phrasal verb. That means well, in Spanish, you'd say rendirse.
Surrender.
Surrender. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. You surrender. So, okay, I give up. Where are you? I don't know where you are. So you give up.
It means you don't know. I give up. So you can either surrender, and you can also say, I don't know. I give up. Okay.
And there it is. Who's man? You would say in the north of England.
I had given it.
Sounds strange to me.
Man?
And who's
man?
it? Yeah.
I think though some of my games I played in the in the north so many years ago, they wouldn't be politically correct now. Who's man is obviously not politically
Very
correct.
sexist.
You should say who's it. It's too sexist. And we also used to play as kids. We used to play a game that is often called tag, which is when you catch somebody. But we had a version when we were kids, and it was called catchy kiss. And the boys used to chase the girls, and the girls used to chase the boys. And whoever caught you, you had to give them a kiss. That's not politically correct now at all.
We played that as well, but we had a different name for it. We called it
what did you call
kiss chase.
Kiss chase.
Kiss chase.
We called it catchy kiss.
Yeah. I never caught anyone.
But that was your advantage, that you weren't a fast runner. Surely the girls must have caught you, Craig, yeah?
I don't think so. The first game's called Las Atrapadas. The second one's called Las Escondidas in Mexico.
That's hide and seek. Las
Hide and
Escondidas,
seek.
I think.
Yeah, exactly. Hide and seek. Okay, and finally we've got two more categories. So video games. We spoke about different video games before, Fortnite and Call of Duty. Some are simulation, strategy games, as Lynn said earlier. There's the first-person shooter games, puzzle games. Yep, and the controller is the thing that you use to control the game.
And you can go up a level, or go down a level. A lot of these video games, they do have scores, don't they? And when you've completed so many scores, you go on another level of difficulty. So the level of difficulty changes. And that means to go up a level or down a level. And you say, what level are you on? What level are you on? What level are you on? Right.
Another area, pub games. And I did play a lot of pub games in my youth when I was younger. So darts, where you throw 3 darts at the board in the pub.
I love that game. I like that.
Me too. I had a dart board, the round board where you throw the darts at. I had one of those in my room. I used to play every day.
Me too. Yeah.
Very relaxing. Pool is an American game, and there are 2 games that are similar to pool. One is Billiards, which is similar to the Spanish name for this kind of table game with different colored balls, and snooker, which is similar but different rules and a much, much bigger table. So pool and billiards are played on a fairly small table, and snooker's played on a much bigger one. And the rules are different for all three games.
Okay, and then dominoes, I think, is universal, isn't it? Dominoes, it's everywhere. With dominoes, did you like
Very
dominoes?
popular in Spain. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I used to play dominoes with my dad a lot. Yeah, yeah.
And
I
dominoes
like
is
dominoes.
when I played it as a child, I thought it was just a very simple game like Snakes and Ladders, but it's actually not. It's a strategy game. I know
Yes.
that my father-in-law can play dominoes really well, and it's got nothing to do with chance. It's got to do with memory.
Yeah.
But you don't realize, I didn't realize that. But you see a lot of people here in Spain play dominoes, a lot of older
Yeah, it's
people.
very common to see older, usually men in bars sitting around a table playing dominoes. Yeah, I'm having a coffee. Pinball is another popular pub game. And then table football and bar billiards. A friend of mine in the UK recently bought a bar billiards table on eBay, and he now has
Oh,
one in
wow.
his house. So I'm looking forward to playing bar billiards when I go and visit next
He
year.
must have a big house if he's got the space for a billiard table.
I think it was more of a negotiation with his wife to put it somewhere, because he's got a huge jukebox in the kitchen. He's a bit crazy.
Wow.
And the bar billiards table, I don't know, it's quite big. I don't know where he's managed to convince his wife to put it, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Oh, and quizzes.
Oh,
Different
yes.
quizzes we've got.
More games, yeah. Crossword puzzles, which you find in the newspaper. I'm sure you've all done crossword puzzles. Often in English classes, the teachers give you crossword puzzles. Jigsaw puzzles, which Craig was saying that he gets addicted to video games. I am terrible with jigsaw puzzles. I cannot. If I get a jigsaw puzzle, there is no food, no shopping, nothing happens in the house for 4 days until the jigsaw puzzle is complete.
Really?
So, yes, really. You cannot give me a jigsaw puzzle. You give me a jigsaw puzzle, I will not stop until it's finished. So, so that's the kind of thing that I don't like people to get me, because some people have bought me really complicated jigsaw puzzles, but it's terrible because I cannot stop. I don't go to bed. My husband has dragged me down to bed at 4 a.m. because I'm still doing the jigsaw puzzle. So you know, I can't have a jigsaw puzzle.
You see, that is for you, it's jigsaw puzzles, and for me, it's video games. So I keep away from video games and you keep away from jigsaw puzzles.
And there's an expression in English we can use. We say, that is your Achilles heel, isn't it? And it comes from Greece or something. Achilles heel, Greek mythology. So the heel is the part of your foot, not your toes, but your heel. Women wear high heeled shoes. And we talk about an Achilles heel, which means it's the weak point, the point that you have to be careful of, because otherwise it will contribute to your downfall.
Eduardo says that these days it's not very popular, but the places where you could play video games, well, in the UK, when I was working there, maybe 25 years ago, they were in pubs everywhere. Space Invaders and other video games were in pubs. And whereas in bars, you have the gambling machines, the fruit machines, where you can win money. In the UK, it was very, very popular to play video games in pubs. But I don't know if there's a special name for a place that only has maybe an arcade, a video game arcade.
An arcade, to go to the arcade. And then they have often gambling games too. They have all sorts of games there like that. You go there just to play. It's called an arcade.
I've put that word in the chat.
Great.
Marta's mum played dominoes in Colombia. Yeah, it's an international game, isn't it? It's played everywhere. And hi, Rafa. Rafa's just come in. Oh, no, sorry. Wrong person. Rafa's just come in from the patios, where in the south of Spain, it's very hot. Yes, it is. You have my sympathy, Rafa.
So no street games. No street games there. You're coming inside to play Scrabble in the air conditioning.
Exactly. I
Okay.
think that's all we've got time for this week. Have we finished? Oh, no, we've got one or two more words. So, pub trivia is where there's a quiz in a pub, and that's really common in the UK. I used to do one in Valencia years ago. You have different
You
groups, you
did.
ask general knowledge questions, and then the group tries to answer the questions about different subjects: history, geography, politics, whatever. The team with the most points wins. Very simple, but a lot of
And
fun.
your pub quiz, I have to tell everybody, your pub quiz in Valencia used to be really popular, and many people went there to learn English, and it was lovely. I went along a couple of times, I remember,
You
years ago.
did? Yes, I remember.
And it's lovely because people could go there alone, and they would sit at a table with a group of people they'd never met before, and they would have to speak English, and everybody spoke English, and they did the game together, and then between the questions there was time to actually have conversations in English, and it was fantastic. Why
Do you
did you
know what?
stop?
I
Why
was
did you
going to say,
stop?
do you know why I stopped doing it? Do you know
No,
why?
why?
Google.
Oh, really?
Everybody started to, because there were more than 100 people in the pub, and every person paid €1 to play. So if you won a lot of money, over €100, and
Yeah.
people were cheating. And I know this is going to make Christine very angry because she hates cheats. But people would
Yes.
Google the answers on their phone, on their mobile phone. And if I played some music as a question to guess the singer, they would use Shazam, which is an app on the phone, to tell you which person's singing the song. So all of the fun was gone,
So that
sadly.
spoils it. Spoils it. Have we got the word spoil? Can you put it in the chat?
Yeah.
Spoil and
Oh,
spoil sport. Because to spoil a game means to ruin a game. And a person who cheats or does some kind of unsocial behavior to spoil the game, that person is called a spoil sport. Can you put that one in?
yeah.
A spoil sport. And that I never realised that was why you stopped the pub trivia quizzes. What a
Yep.
pity. What a
What a
real
pity it
A real
was.
pity. And I'm sorry, but I do have to correct you as well, Craig. I think you made a typo, a typing mistake with arcade. You ended up putting an H in it, but there's no H in it. It's an
Oh,
arcade. And Monica spotted it. Thank you, Monica.
thank you,
Monica's
Monica.
corrected it, but thank you.
Yeah.
And you're quite right, Monica. It doesn't have an H.
Thanks
It's a
very
quick
much.
typo.
What a lovely group of people we have watching us. It's lovely to have you here. But sadly, I think we have to end there because we're out of time. So before we go, though, Lynn, if people want to contact you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Through putitlikethis.com, my website. So go there and there's a contact page. So if you want to write me, and then I can contact you if you're interested in classes or any services that I offer.
Yeah, because Lynn is an online teacher. So if you want some private lessons online with Lynn, get in touch and she'll send you the details. And if you'd like to study on the Mansion Inglés website, we have courses and material that will help you for self-study, studying at home with the website, or listen to the podcast. The podcast is at inglespodcast.com or anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. So thanks very much for your time and being with us. And thank you if you've watched the replay on Facebook. And Lynn, will you be back in 2 weeks for another session?
Yes, I'll be back in 2 weeks for another session. And I've seen actually that Rafa's just given us a lovely idea. Can you see that? He said, shall you prepare... Can you put that one up? Can you see that? He says, shall you prepare a class about British culture, like Trivial? Now, first of all, it's a great idea. I'm just going to correct your English a little bit. So, would you prepare or could you prepare? Not shall. Yeah. So, could you prepare a class about British culture? That's a great idea, Rafa, because maybe we could prepare a class with like a quiz. And as we are explaining the answers, you guys can guess the answers. And as we're explaining the answers, we can be talking and you get listening and you learn some new things about British culture. You think
We'd
that's
have
a good
to.
idea?
I think it's a very good idea, and thank you, Rafa. The only thing Lynn and I will have to think about this before next time, because I tried something similar once on my own,
Oh,
and it was a quiz, but people were getting very, very angry because I said the first person to type the correct answer gets the point.
ah,
And it was very difficult to see in the chat who was actually first, because there were arguments.
yeah.
Someone appeared first, but then another person said, no, I answered before you. So there were different people seeing different things in the chat.
Well, we haven't
So
got to make it so competitive.
exactly.
I'll figure out a way
We'll
to
think
make
about it,
everybody
Rafa.
happy.
We'll chew it over. That's the phrasal verb you
Yeah, we'll
need.
chew it over.
We'll chew it over. Masticarlo. So we'll
Yeah,
see you
and
soon.
if any of the others of you have ideas for classes that you'd like to have with us, you can let us know. Yeah, because
Sure.
Craig and I are often thinking about the ideas, things that we want to do with you. But I mean, really, the class is for you guys. So if you have areas of vocabulary that you'd really like to cover, or a class you'd like to listen to us just talking about things, then you let us know. Any topics, they're all gratefully received.
Absolutely. For sure.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Then. So see you in a couple of weeks, everybody. And
Stay
Craig will
safe.
see you next week. Yeah.
And have a good week. See you
Yeah.
soon.
You too. Bye-bye.